How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So today is all about the common problems that these OBS Ford doors have. I have pretty much all of them, from the reinforcement plate that I'm gonna have to make for the door handle, to the door panel itself, to the weather stripping that goes on top of the door panel. Like, there's a bunch of stuff broken with this door. So I'm gonna jump right into it, guys. What I'm doing is making myself a reinforcement plate, and what this is stainless steel. I want to say 16 gauge, but don't hold me to it. I already pre-drilled it and got everything set up to go into the truck, because I've done this before on the channel and I didn't want this to be repetitive. But if you want to make one yourself, I'll have the measurements down in the description below. If you want to do this job yourself but you have no interest in making a reinforcement plate yourself, well, I'd highly recommend you go down to blowingdiesel.com. Joel, he has his own channel on YouTube. He does fantastic work on his OBS Fords, and he makes these own reinforcement plates on his website. They are made out of 16 gauge, 14 gauge steel, really thick stuff. They're already pre-cut. You just drill the holes into your door panel and rivet them in place. It's really that simple. And they're only $20 a piece, and you get to support a small business that makes his products right here in the USA. So that's a big win. So that's one problem I got going on. Next is this door panel, and I've showed you this, guys, a million times on the project if you've been following along, but this is completely busted, and the plastic here and here is completely missing. So when I want to put this weather stripping back on, there's nothing to clip it into. So two things with this. I have to fix this first. I thought about plastic welding, and I don't have any filler rods, but I could try and get a soldering iron and melt those two pieces of plastic back together, or just JB weld it. I haven't really decided yet, because there's another crack down here, and I'm definitely going to JB weld that. It would be a lot easier. So that's all that's going on today in this video. Even though it's not a whole lot of work and I already have this stuff pre-drilled, it's just the tiny little details that may take up so much time, but it's got to get done, and I'm really looking forward to getting my interior complete. I was going to start on the door reinforcement plate, but it's gotten a little bit too dark tonight, so I'm working on the door panel for now. And I was going to just JB weld this crack, but I thought I'd just give plastic welding a try, and it's worked phenomenally. This whole crack right here is disappearing when you hit it with a soldering iron, and so what it's doing is just melting the two pieces back together, and it's a lot more solid. So not only am I going to plastic weld this, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to JB weld on top of this as well, and in the groove. Well, I'd call that crack fixed. That's pretty impressive. I never have tried this before. Okay, next up is this crack right here, and I noticed this is loose as well, but this might be too big of a gap to plastic weld, so I'll just JB weld that. But for this, I think I could fix that. You know, before I finish this joint, let me get you a close-up with a different lens. Got the close-up lens now, just to show you exactly what this is doing. Fixed. Okay, on to something a little bit more difficult. This is where the screw goes right next to the mirror, and this thing completely sheared off. It was a clean break all the way around. So I was just going to JB weld it, but I've had such good luck with the soldering iron so far. I'm going to see what I can do here. Yeah, that's already held it in place. That's pretty cool. It's amazing how well it works. I'm genuinely surprised. So even though I have a lot of confidence in this, I'm going to put some JB weld on it anyways. Can't hurt. Just glob it in there. Okay, change of plans. I said I wasn't going to put any rivets in, but I don't know how well that JB weld is going to hold up over time. So I'm just going to put 2 rivets here and do my best not to break anything. I'm going to go extremely slow when I do this. So instead of using a rivet, I decided to use a self-tapping screw. It has a flat enough head that I think it'll sit as flat as a rivet, but it's also got about 1 inch of thread, and I doubt there's any way that would ever be able to back out. And again, I just have to go really gentle with it. So my rivets weren't tall enough to go through the weather stripping and the plastic, so I had to go with screws, and that's the best solution I came up with. Originally, I had a pretty long screw that I put through here. In the same screw box that I had from Harbor Freight, it actually came with the same size, just shorter, and that's what I went with here. So I did mess up a little bit on this. When I would tighten down that screw, this whole backside would bow out, and so I had to find a way to clamp it down flush against the plastic, and that worked out pretty well. I was able to get some JB Weld on the backside, and it's all secure there. But what I didn't think about was how it raised up away from the plastic at the top here. So I should have gotten a C-clamp and clamped that down. I just didn't think of it at the time, and so I'm stuck with it. JB Weld's set up. It won't cause any problems because it'll seal against the window just fine. I'm not worried about that at all. It just looks a little ugly, and you guys know how I like my interiors to look perfect, but I guess in the big scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal. Moving on to the reinforcement plate here, I'm going to keep it real short because I want to show you what I'm talking about in the truck, but basically it's 4 3/4 inches long, 2 1/4 inches tall, and these are 5 32nd holes that I drilled. And I'm going to go with bolts. You can use rivets if you want. I just think they'll hold up better over time. Also, when I get back in the truck, I'm going to show you how to mark the steel so you know where to drill this hole. So this hole ripped out, and then someone tried to weld it in the past. You can see the remnants of welding wire. Obviously didn't hold up, so reinforcement plate is the way to go. And you don't have to be super precise. You just have to cut a couple notches so it'll fit in that groove. And then when you want to find out where to drill this for the square hole, I'll grab a Sharpie from the back side and I kind of just mark it, and then that'll tell me where to drill it. And then with a file, I like to square up the hole because that's where this little tab will rest into. You have to bend it down a little bit because now the metal's twice as thick, but it's not that big of a deal. Just grab some pliers and you'll be fine. Once you have this hole drilled, you just put your handle in here and then you mark where you want your screw to go for the handle here. That's the main screw that holds the handle down in place. I like to have a bolt here because it'll sit right underneath that door handle. It'll actually add a little bit more rigidity in the corner, and I think it'll actually last even longer. So I hope that explained everything. Since it's such a bad hole, it got ripped out so much, I made another plate, and they'll actually sit on the back side when I go to bolt everything back together. Again, you don't have to do it, it just adds more rigidity at the end of the day. So after those bolts are in, I'm just using a simple crush washer and a nut. And there you have it. Works great. All the screws are in. There's no plastic pins on this side. There's just one on this side. They weren't really cooperating, but it's really solid. The door handle works and it closes just like the day it was made. One finger. A little gap on the outside, which is a little annoying, but it's okay. It's not too bad. And then this gap right here, and some JB Weld leaking through. So it's not perfect, but a lot better than before. Well, there you have it, guys. That's the first time I've ever used the inside door handle on my truck since I bought it months ago, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. 90% of the interior is done on the truck besides the dash pad, but that's another video for another day. When it came to the door panel, I didn't show you everything on camera because it's really a custom fit at the end of the day with that weather strip being JB welded in there. I actually had to go in with some metal shears and cut some of the metal clips off so it would fit just right. And then some of the screws weren't aligned perfectly with the holes. They'd kind of go in like that. The plastic pins that I bought at the auto parts store weren't cooperating whatsoever. I only have like 1 plastic pin out of 5 in there. But everything's secured down with a lot of screws. I'm not worried about it pulling off whatsoever. It's secured in there, guys. And I'm really, really pleased. For being 25 years old, that door panel's still going strong. Guys, thanks so much for watching the video. Next week, I'm probably gonna be working on that toolbox and headache rack. We'll see. Or maybe work on replacing a cam position sensor. I haven't really decided yet. But either way, I'm gonna have a lot of fun working on the truck in the next couple days. So guys, thanks so much for watching the video. If you wanna see some more great channels, I'd highly recommend you go down in the description below. Absolutely worth checking out. They're great guys. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.